Well, I'm in the Puglia region of Italy, the southeast of Italy. In fact, not too far away from here is the site of the G7 meeting. It's here that several heads of state will be coming, including Prime Minister Modi, who flies in from New Delhi later on tonight. It's a very, very critical meeting, and it is in a country with which India has a long equation. We are delighted to have a very special guest with us. Ambassador Vani Rao is India's ambassador to Rome. Thank you, ma'am, very much for being with us. First up, the significance of G7 and why is it important that we have Prime Minister Modi attend?
Thank you, Vishnu, and glad to address viewers of NDTV. The G7 is an important platform because it has as members the most important and industrialized countries in the world and some of our key global partners. And for the Prime Minister, it's an occasion to reiterate the importance we attach to multilateralism. It's a platform on which he will espouse his vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and also follow up on some of the outcomes of the G20 summit that he had chaired last year. And obviously, we are also voicing the aspirations and expectations of the global south on this platform.
And ma'am, that's interesting that you mentioned that because we are champions of the global south. We've just had a very successful G20 some time back. And there is a huge expectation that India brings with us that voice to this platform. Could you tell us a little bit more about how India is recognized as that leader of the global south?
So you will recall that in the G20 summit, we brought the focus back to some of the key global economic issues. And these range from food security to energy, the importance of sustainable development and the need for developing countries to receive both technology and funds to meet some of the climate targets. So we will be voicing these expectations again on the global platform. In addition to that, India has also led some of the initiatives which seek to implement our approach to these global issues. You know, for example, the International Solar Alliance, the CDRI, and the G20 summit, we had announced the Global Biofuels Alliance. So it would be, not just voicing the aspirations of the global south, but also to lead some of these efforts to implement some of the initiatives that would actually make a difference to the developing countries.
So Africa, the Asia Pacific region, artificial intelligence and sustainability slash sort of a green system of thinking and policy. These are essential issues that we're also looking at, right?
Yes, correct. And the Italian presidency has also chosen to focus on some of these issues.
Right.
Prime Minister Meloni has increased her outreach with Africa in recent times. So you will see that Africa, artificial intelligence and energy will be on the agenda.
And ma'am, it's also an important occasion, isn't it, for India to have bilateral meetings. And of course, there'll be a bilateral with the Italian Prime Minister, but it's also a possible chance of bilaterals with other leaders as well.
That's right.
Is that something that we can look forward to?
Yes, definitely. The program is extremely compact, but it will give the Prime Minister an opportunity not only to participate in the G7 outreach session as a partner country, but also there are some important bilateral meetings in the program. And especially the meeting with Prime Minister Meloni is something that I am looking forward to.
We'll talk about that in a moment. But just one more question on G7. Ukraine is obviously a very key issue over here. The United States is possibly, President Biden may be coming out with some sort of a policy in terms of funding Ukraine. Be that as it may, is there a possibility of the advice of our Prime Minister being sought by international leaders? Because Ukraine is very much in conversation with this big peace summit a couple of days later in Switzerland.
Surely, in addition to some of the economic issues I mentioned, the current regional and global issues are on the agenda of the G7. And our positions on these issues are very well known. And the world leaders will surely engage with the Prime Minister on how we see the way forward in addressing these issues. And because we have good relations with many of the affected parties, his views would be taken on board.
Yeah. And let's talk about Italy. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is somebody who India knows very well. She was there for G20. She was there on a state visit earlier on as well. How important is it that you have two leaders who work well with each other, drive this relationship?
It is a very important factor. When the Prime Minister and his Italian counterpart have met 3 times already, and there is an excellent rapport. And when that happens, it sends a signal to the two governments, to the industry and several other stakeholders that India attaches importance to Italy and vice versa.
Right.
And it is also, every meeting of the two prime ministers gives new boost and momentum to the ongoing bilateral cooperation. For example, the last 2 times they met, we elevated the relationship to a strategic partnership. So the top leaders engaging with each other, it also percolates down to the ministers having regular meetings, the institutionalized dialogue mechanisms, meeting more regularly, and basically trying to add depth to what we are doing across domains. So it is very important, and we are very excited to see what the two leaders will discuss tomorrow.
Ma'am, trade between India and Italy is higher now than it has been in the past. I mean, it's a real talking point, the economic relationship.
Yes.
And you've got several Indian companies which have invested in Italy in all sorts of sectors, IT to pharma to several other areas as well. So how is this an important part of your engagement?
So, as an embassy, we pursue cooperation in all domains, and the trade and investment part of the bilateral agenda is very critical. This is an area where we want to broaden the interaction. We want to enable more manufacturing efforts by Italian companies in India. We want to enable investments in India, startups, the entire range. It will also help us get more inroads into the European market.
Right.
Italian companies are very well known. They have highly industrialized companies, capabilities in automobiles, food processing, agriculture. So it's a win-win relationship. If the companies connect with each other, we will play the role of a facilitator.
Right. And ma'am, the strategic part of the relationship also implies a defense relationship at many levels. How is that something that's progressing?
So the defense cooperation is something that is poised to grow. Interestingly, the Indian personnel, military personnel, played a very key role here in the Second World War. We had several thousands of them here, and you would be surprised to know that out of the 20 Victoria Crosses awarded to the Italian army in the after the World War, 6 of them were to Indian soldiers.
Yes.
So there is a historical connection also between the two countries in the defense area. My mandate here, we are broadening the defense cooperation. Raksha Mantri came here last year. We are looking at an institutionalized dialogue between the two ministries of defense, and that will be a good platform to see how we engage in terms of service to service interaction, the two armies, navies, air force speaking to each other more often. Maritime cooperation is already there. We are very happy to see that the Italian government is focusing on the Indo-Pacific. They have they have a wider Mediterranean strategy, and our Indo-Pacific and their wider Mediterranean, they intersect at the eastern shore of Africa, parts of Africa. So it is good for us. They are sending some of their naval ships to India to and the Indian Ocean region, in fact, as part of their increased presence in the Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific region. Italian companies in the defense and security domain have excellent capabilities. across the spectrum. But presently, the defense trade is mainly procurement based on both sides. So that's something we are looking at, whether we can invest in more co-production ventures.
Sure.
We are trying to connect the industries on both sides.
You know, you've touched a chord because for me the role of Indian soldiers in the Second World War is something which I've done a lot of work on. You know, I've had the opportunity of traveling the length and breadth of India, traveling to places like Monte Cassino and pulling out footage,
Yes.
which you know, was there in our archives to put together the stories. And I think one of the most wonderful aspects of this is the respect that exists over generations for Indians in any number of war memorials and you know, I mean, and plaques and busts in different parts. It's a wonderful part of the relationship people don't talk about or
Yes.
know about enough, I suspect.
Completely. It's something that we are also trying to highlight in our own interactions here.
Yeah.
When Raksha Mantri came here last year, he attended a ceremony where the local authorities set up a memorial for the Indian soldiers who had participated in the campaign there. So these connections are very important because you see, after all, a relationship is about building ties between the people.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you know, my work becomes easy.
Sure.
You know, and the Italians love India, Indian culture.
Sure.
So the more the stakeholders and the levels of connect between the two countries, I think the more sustainable it is in the long term.
One or two more questions. And again, something that's not spoken about enough is that the Parma ham and cheese industry has an incredible India connect.
Yes.
Where you've got generations of people, primarily from the Punjab,
Yes.
coming in, who are now so trusted and who are virtually members of the families which are involved in this, that they've got age-old, time-tested recipes which are now being shared with them so that they can actually, you know, make this one of the great Italian success stories.
Yes.
So Indian people or people of Indian origin doing wonderfully well in something which is completely Italian,
Yes.
their cheese industry.
True, it is a
The
very
dairy
unique
industry, yeah.
aspect, and the Indian diaspora from Punjab has really made a big contribution not only to the dairy industry but
Yeah.
also to the agriculture sector.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, in many kiwi farms here, you will find many persons from Punjab working.
Right.
So it is an aspect of the relationship which is again very important and connects the two countries. Here we are also trying to diversify the profile of the Indian population.
Right.
You know, not many professionals are working here in Italy. We have students, but it is very small, the number is small, below 6,000-7,000. So
But there are 2 lakh Indians.
there are 2 lakh
The
Indians.
second after what? The Netherlands, am I right?
Correct, yeah.
In the European Union.
Correct.
Yeah.
So most of them are in the agriculture and dairy sector.
Right.
So last year we agreed to facilitate migration and mobility of some more categories of people, which I'm sure is going to be mutually beneficial
Sure.
for us.
And ma'am, one final question. There was this rather unfortunate situation which happened in Brindisi where there was a bust, I believe, under construction
Yes.
of Gandhiji, which was defaced. Is there a threat of Khalistani separatism in Italy? I don't know if the word threat is right, but is there this widespread sentiment over here among some people of this? Because that represents a huge challenge, obviously, for us.
Yes. So, you know, the Indian population here is very well settled and integrated. And overall, they've made a very positive contribution to this country. You mentioned, you know, how well they have done in the dairy sector.
Yeah.
But, you know, as it happens everywhere, there are some elements which are misguided and which are susceptible to propaganda and, you know, narratives which are very misguided.
Right.
So this incident took place, but I must say the local authorities immediately acted. We've also requested them to take prompt action against those you know, who did this act. Again, it brings me to one more historical fact. You know, the Brindisi was chosen as a location because Mahatma Gandhi transited through Brindisi in 1931.
I see.
Yeah, when he participated in the Round Table Conference in Switzerland, he came to Brindisi and he boarded a steamer from there to Mumbai.
Oh.
So that's why, you know, the bust is, you know, being installed there.
Right.
It's not yet ready, but whenever, you know, we will have it unveiled.
Wonderful speaking to you, ma'am. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Vishnu. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, India's ambassador to Rome telling us about the relationship, the G7 process as well. It's an important developing strategic relationship across so many facets, but perhaps that human connect is what underlines or is the bedrock, I would suggest, of what it's all about.